Hello, it's Axel Grave back here again with the fourth episode in our first series here on Hardcore Casuals. That's right, Hardcore Casuals. Coming to a YouTube near you. But regardless, we're doing our first set on the second season of Iron Fist, and we're on episode 4, which is called Target Iron Fist. So this one picks up kind of probably the morning after, basically, where we have Colleen and Danny talking about the, basically the negotiation gone wrong, and Danny's like, well, maybe I overreacted, I didn't know who was outside, and if it wasn't the Golden Tigers, I don't know who it was, maybe I blew peace, and Colleen's trying to reassure him, but regardless, he's like, alright, well, maybe I don't know what to do now, because she's never going to trust anyone. She's like, well, you gotta try, go try to tell her to do more peace negotiations, even if she won't, you gotta at least try. So they go try to do that, but in the meantime, we go back to Davos, Mary, and Joyce, they're still trying to figure out what's happened with Mary, and Davos is basically, even, he's still aggressive, but he knows that Mary can hold her own, and, she's threatened. I think she's like, if your hand touches me, you lose that hand. I'm like, oh yeah, Mary. So Joyce is like, it's alright, I'll take care of this, you go handle the things you need to handle or whatever, and I'll take care of this Mary thing. He's like, alright, whatever, doesn't matter. They go off to do that while Joyce takes care of Mary, and we jump back to Colleen and Danny, who are now, at Mr. and Mrs. Yang's house. They meet up with their, head of security, Mr. Liu, who's really aggressive to Danny's like, bring it, that challenge you to fight, and Danny's like, yeah, I'm Iron Fist, man, whatever, I don't care. What balls on this guy? Must not know who I am. And Miss Ying is like, whatever, they wouldn't be here if I didn't want them to be, just go, Lou. And she's like, well, I can't do peace now, they took the docks, there could have been peace, but we can't be weak, we can only speak in bloodshed. And he's like, Danny's like, well, I'll stop it. And she's like, don't speak to me in absolutes. And then he's like, Iron Fist, which he didn't actually say it. He's like, whatever. Colleen's like, whatever, get out of here, Danny. I'll talk to her. And he's like, alright, I thought I heard something earlier. What you did? He was like, what's over here in this room? They also learned that Mr. Yang, he didn't die, he had a stroke. So he's like, he goes in, he checks Mr. Yang, he's like, suspicious. He's like, man, that's weird, that's not coincidental. Which he also says in this talk with her, well, that's weird, he had a stroke right before the peace negotiations. So he goes in there, sees that Davos did it, and then Mr. Yang wakes up and tells him that it was Davos, basically, or confirms it was Davos with his blinking, then tells him 212 Hancock something, and it's like a fucking shipping container or something, which I knew it would be because they were doing the pier stuff earlier. But Danny didn't know, and then Mr. Yang gets all worked up, and they have to escort Danny out, and his wife's like, get them out of here, and he's like, fine, whatever, I'm the Iron Fist. That's what this episode should have been called, fine, whatever, I'm the Iron Fist. Oh, I didn't mention this, but the episode actually opens on Danny, just having his ass having been kicked. He's, laying on the ground, bleeding, the phone's ringing to Colleen, and then Mary just, drags him off. That was the opening credit scene. I forgot about that. Not, opening credit, but, opening before the title. Let's see. So, after we get that whole thing with Danny, trying to go talk to them and trying to figure out, they start going home, and then Misty meets him on the way. He's like, hey, you two, you're going to walk by without saying what's up? And he's like, oh, what's up? And he's like, I noticed you've been doing it. And they talk, and they're like, all right, whatever, well, I'll go with you, I guess, because she basically I'm not asking. And it turns out that the people outside were cops, and that Danny roughed up an undercover cop during that, negotiation, and that's who was outside. They were, taking pictures to bust him. He's like, I screwed it up. And she's like, yeah, you did, so stay out of it. He's like, well, I can't stay out of it. My brother's in it. He's like, even more reason to stay out of it. He's like, no, I'm the Iron Fist. He doesn't say that, but, he's like, no, I got it. It's my brother. It's really more about it being Davos, not him being the Iron Fist. So she's like, whatever, you promised me. I need you to look me in. I promise you. He's like, all right. And then he sneaks out and runs off. It was great. Honor. But they don't notice. They keep talking for a while or whatever, and he goes off. Meanwhile, even before that, Mary is with Joyce, and it turns out that Joyce is scattering around trying to figure out, talking to her, kind of rifling through stuff, kind of just bothering Mary in general, until she gets to her discharge papers, because she was I don't know if it was Marine or Army Special Forces, whatever, She has some discharge papers, and it's because of her condition, which is dissociative identity disorder, not multiple personality disorder. They changed that, and she even clarifies that, which I thought was great. And she kind of freaks out and chokes Joyce, and she's just like, "Oh God, it's just gonna murder me." And Mary lets her go. She's like, "You don't know what it's like not to know who you are." She's like, "I hate this." She draws pictures, and it's really me. It's like, oh man. So finally she's like, "All right, I get it. My bad. I don't know you. I don't know your life." It's like, "Yeah, you don't know my life." And she's like, I can't leave until you look me in the eye and tell me you can get the job done." She's like, "I can get the job done." And earlier she had been to, like, they were like, "Well, why, I can't take stuff on faith." Well, I'm not asking you to take it on faith. What I'm asking you is to know that I've been watching him, studying him. I know his fighting style. I know almost no one can take care of that thing he does with his fist. It's like, whoa. So then, back again to Davos. He has made it to the docks and the shipping yards or whatever, where the Golden Tigers are waiting, and he quickly disposes of them in various manners and gets to his stuff, which is an old Iron Fist body, like an old mummified body. And he walks up in, he doesn't show it. I think they show a little bit, like, of him pulling the knife, but he, like, cuts off the dragon symbol, pieces out, skips to Danny showing up. He's like, "Oh, I'm too late. Everyone's dead." He sees the cut off piece. He's like, "Oh no, what's going on? How could Davos do this?" Then Misty and Colleen show up, and they're like, "What the hell, man?" He's like, "I didn't do this. This is all craziness." And then Danny and Misty get a little confrontational, which is funny because, yeah, Iron Fist. He is indeed the Iron Fist. I mean, she's got a metal fist or some cybernetic whatever crap, but he got an Iron Fist. But yeah, they didn't get, like, fighting, but they were very confrontational, and he's just like, "Get out of my way if you're not gonna help." She's like, "Excuse me?" And so Colleen diffuses it, and he's just like, "Get out of here, Danny. Fine, go help, do what you need to do." So Danny runs off. He's calling Joyce. He's like, at which point, Joyce gets found by Ward. He figures out where she lives, and just, like, kind of not like sneaks up on her, but, like, is in waiting for when she gets home, because he bribed the super, and he's just like, "Talk to me." And they talk, and he reveals he purchased the shell company, because she'd been talking about the shell company she purchased for this photovoltaic, what was it? It's photovoltaic something, so it's like solar powered something. Biotic, yeah, but basically he blocked, and he's like, "Well, I was going to buy it and give it to you as a gift." And she's like, with no strings attached, "So I'd be a silent partner." She's like, "You don't get it. I don't want to be anywhere near you." And see, this part I get. See, from Ward too a little bit, but even then it's just like, it's more about they also go over his, like, drug addiction stuff, and that's what's more, I'm more okay with. But she's still just a bitch, man. This should really be called episode 4, Kill Joyce, and not Kill Joyce, Kill Joyce. But after that, we see Danny trying to call Joyce. He's just like, "Hey, I am, you got to stay away from Davos. He's been doing stuff. Just meet me up at the dojo." And while he's, like, running through the subway, Mary gets the drop on him, throws him a blow. He, like, stumbles a bit, and they get a fighting, and she, like, injects him with some stuff, assume drugs, narcotics, to put him to sleep. And they keep fighting it through the alleyway. She's getting some good looks, man. Even before he starts getting, like, really woozy from the drugs. Like, I assume he was a little hampered before from, getting punched in the fucking back of the head. From getting punched in the back of the head. Rabbit punches are never nice. But, yeah, so they go through this whole long sequence fighting through there, and he, like, lights up the fist, and she's able to dodge behind a pillar, and then, like, redirect it with a wire so it doesn't hit her, and put it behind his back. And eventually the drugs kick in, as well as her, butt kicking. And you get back to the first scene where she's, kicking him in the face, and just, well, not kicking, but where he's, like, on the ground, and she just, like, drags him off. Then we go farther, actually, which they thought that they would save it for the next episode, but they go farther, and Danny wakes up in, like, a warehouse with, like, these 3 witches, and, like, Davos they showed it earlier, before he got knocked out, there Davos is, like, on the ground, and, like, these witches are, like, going over spell stuff with the dead piece, or the piece of the dead Iron Fist tattoo, the dragon on his chest. They have it, like, in a bowl, the bowl he stole earlier, or whatever, bribed or blackmailed to get. And so what they do is they go and, like, they light that on fire and burn it to, like, ash, and then they, like, cut Danny and take his blood mix that up, I guess, into a die, and then they like tattoo this big serpent on Davos's back, and I'm guessing it's probably gonna give him like the power of the Iron Fist or some other powers or whatever. And like Mary's in the back with like headphones, just like, yeah, I'm Mary. You know, DID. No one knows. And I think that's the end of it on that one, man. It was a crazy episode. It was all over, but this one was a little more linear, a little less jumping around. Oh, there was a part with Ward, like, I guess he was still with his sponsor, and she's like, yeah, you know, you got to do this and this, and you got to go find your sister at a good time. And she's like, I don't think I can be your sponsor anymore. And I was just like, yeah, well, little unnecessary there. Maybe a little drawn out for the Davos scene at the end, but I felt like it really was really a good, perfect timing for that. Very last thing was Davos, like, after he gets up, he's like, now you're going to give me what was mine rightfully, brother. And it's like, oh, he like puts his hand on like his head like this. At first I thought he was going for the eye. Bloop. But nah, he like put his thumb on his head. I think he's going to steal his chi. It'd be interesting. But yeah, that was episode, I think, 4 of, you know, Hardcore Casual, where we go into depth and break down each episode of our favorite show. You know, we're figuring it out. In this episode, this season's Iron Fist seems to be in a good swing. Hopefully it maintains that. There's only 10 episodes, so I'm probably going to do one more for the night, and then I'll do the rest tomorrow. Just, yeah, change clothes and stuff. Get them posted up over about 2 weeks, probably, worth of content. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching, hopefully.